Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of the Enya Nova U Mini. It's their new soprano version of this instrument. The concert instrument has been around for a little bit more than a year, and it is a wonderful little package, and we're going to take a look at it rather in depth for this video. Now, if you haven't seen any of these reviews before, I do have to warn you that the UkeGuide format is a rather long format of video. So if there are only certain things you're interested in, such as the specifications or the final summary, you can use the chapters below here on the bottom of the screen to jump to certain parts of the video that matter to you. So please make sure to do that. And if you want to, you can find the actual printed UkeGuide, it's a PDF, at ukeguide.info or my normal blog, ukestuff.info, and look at the UkeGuides where you can actually print out the summary or save the PDF of this instrument if you'd want to do that as well. Now, before we begin the subjective issues, let's just talk about the instrument itself a little bit. The concert version of this came out just a little bit more than a year ago, and it is a polycarbonate / carbon fiber mix. I think it's about 30% carbon fiber, if I remember reading correctly. And it is meant to be a travel ukulele, so it's a thin body travel ukulele with sort of modern styling and modern materials. It is a little bit different twist on both full polycarbonate ukuleles. It is a different twist on carbon fiber ukuleles, and it's a different twist on the plastic ukuleles that exist too. So it kind of has its own little location in the ukulele world of an instrument. And the concert version of this instrument is so popular that it even has its own Facebook group. And of course, if you want to join that group about the soprano, you can as well. And my guess is that a lot of the concert owners will also buy one of the sopranos as well. The other thing I do want to mention is that this ukulele was sent to me directly from Enya for review purposes, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to check it out. So with that said, let's look at the subjective issues with ukulele. First of all, cost. The cost is $59.99 on Amazon. I think it's the same on Enya's website. If you live in the United States, there is a separate Enya website, enya-music.com, but you can also buy them at Amazon, and $59.99 is the going price for that. It's a really crowded area as a price point, but you have to wonder what you're getting. The concert size of this is more expensive, and perhaps that $59.99 price will go up in time as well. There are wood ukuleles, concert scale, in fact even some larger than that, with a kit that will be under the price of this Enya. So you have to be aware of that. It's not a runaway bargain in price. We'll get to the value in a second, but just so that you know that while it's inexpensive, relatively speaking, it's also not an all-out super low price either. Now, with that said, what's the value like? Well, not only do you get the ukulele that is a travel ukulele, and it's meant to be more rugged than a wood ukulele, you also get the Enya. This is their kind of, I don't know what you call this. It's not really a ballistic, but it's sort of a hard foam, sort of a sunglass case type material case, and it works well. It does what it needs to do. It's not going to save the ukulele from being stepped on and broken in half, but for all bumps and bruises, it is more than adequate for travel, which is what you want. And it's small and slim, ultra portable, really light. We'll talk about that. It's actually lighter than it feels, which is kind of crazy. And then Enya has really improved the case. The original concert ukuleles did not come in as nice of a case, and, well, correction, it is the same case, but improved case. So they didn't come in as well of an improved case as this one. The handle has been redesigned. They've added a back strap at the request of many customers, and the zippers have been improved. On the original concert case, the zippers would always get stuck about here. That's much improved to this case. So you get the case. You also get a tuner, and you also get a set of strings. So what's missing on the ukulele? Well, generally you have to look at the concert scale model of this to come up with that answer, but I'll give you a quick summary. First of all, these do not have any strap pegs, I've watched a number of reviews of ukulele players that are kind of upset about that. I'm not sure that it's worth that level of being upset about, but nonetheless, I understand it. They expected straps and strap buttons and they didn't get it. Not that the website shows strap buttons, but it was just assumed, I think. It's missing a side sound port that the concert has, and it also doesn't come with a strap then, nor does it come with a capo that the concerts came with. Otherwise, pretty much everything else that you would get with the concert, you get with the Soprano. Overall, that's a really good value for $60 on a sort of tougher ukulele that looks kind of cool and sounds pretty good. You keep that in mind. That's a really good value. So, in my mindset, even at $59.99, even if it goes up a little bit, it's a good value for what you're getting, especially if you look comparatively to other plastic ukuleles and other ukuleles with a plastic slash carbon fiber mix. Now, in terms of build quality, a couple things I want to say. First of all, I cannot get the endoscope into this ukulele. Those are the only openings for it to take a look at the inside. So I can't give you a look and a tour on the inside of the ukulele like I like to do. But otherwise, on the outside, it's not hard to do, but it's flawless, it's smooth, it's comfortable to hold, and it's what you'd expect from Enya at this point. Enya has this pretty standard reputation of doing really flawless or really high quality work at a really affordable price for that level of work. Now, with that said, there are a couple other things you need to know. There were a few people reporting some fret wear with the original concert ukulele. Now, many of those cases were connected to people putting on particularly Aquila red strings, Aquila red strings. They have a fine metallic powder in them that make them red, and that is sort of like putting sandpaper strings on your ukulele. If you have metal frets, it's not a problem, but if you have plastic frets or carbon fiber slash polycarbonate frets, that's going to cause an issue. Now, for the record, Outdoor Ukulele and Magic Fluke both give warnings to buyers to please don't do that. Please don't put Aquila reds or strings with metallic powder in them on this ukulele, and Enya now says that as well. But there were a few people that wore frets out that way, but there were a couple people that reported some fret wear with even the standard Enya strings that you get. To solve that problem, Enya reformulated the plastic a little bit earlier this year in January, and that reformulated material also appears on this ukulele. So they've increased the build quality. Now, that said, again, please don't use metallic strings on this instrument. Only use fluorocarbon strings on this instrument. I suppose you could probably try like a Aquila Super Nile Guts too, but I would generally encourage you to stay with fluorocarbon strings. Now, if you desperately need red strings, there's a company called Aurora that has strings made by Aquila. They're Super Nile Guts strings, but they're red, and you can order a red set or purple or green or whatever you want to put on the front of your ukulele. And I do not think that the Super Nile Guts will cause any problems with this instrument. But do stay away from the reds. I would even stay away from the texture of the Worth Browns, personally, on this instrument. Now, as we talk about appearance, you're either going to like this thing or you're going to hate it. And it's all about the appearance. I like this a lot. It does appeal to me. I like the cutaway. I like the way they did the double cutaway there. I like the shape. I like the sound hole. I like everything about this. I even like kind of the swoopy headstock that they have. It all appeals to me. But if you're a traditionalist, this may not be of interest to you. And if that's the case, unfortunately with Enya, they don't make a more conservative sort of or traditional sort of body shape for this. You're kind of stuck to this. Now, it is also that thin line with a little bit of a raised back. You can see a little bump there, which helps direct the sound. And that's all very nice as well. So it's kind of plain. It's matte black. We'll get to this when we get to playability. It doesn't have any side position markers. I wish they would have fixed that on this batch. Maybe they still can in the future. But otherwise, it has some neat appointments, some neat things to look at. Yet it isn't super flashy. But quite honestly, the shape alone is enough to catch the eye of most buyers and many people that don't play ukulele. They'll be like, oh, wow, look at that tiny guitar. And then you get to have the opportunity to say, no, it's not a guitar, it's an ukulele, and have that discussion. Now, in terms of availability, pretty much you can buy one of these right now on Amazon or from enya-music.com. Now let's talk about playability, and this is sort of a mixed bag for me, and I'm going to show you why in just a moment. But with playability, Enya made the nut about the same as the concert, but the string spacing is massively wider, almost 2 millimeters per set of strings apart. So you get a much wider space between the strings, even though your fret space is shorter just because of the scale. The concert is 15.5 inches, this is 13.5 inches. So along the way you lose 2 inches from, the nut to the saddle. So with that in mind, you are playing on a soprano. You do have a slight radius on the fretboard, which makes it easier to play, especially like bar chords, that sort of thing. At the same time, I don't find it massively easier to play. I'll show you. I was working on the song Sunday Best, which involves an A minor 7, then a D minor 7, then a G minor 7, then a B flat chord. And that's a sequence that goes over and over and over again. I find it easier to play the D minor 7 on my concert than I do on the Enya Nova U Mini. I think that's generally because of just fret spacing where my pinky lands when I'm playing the D minor 7 chord, and it's the D minor 7 that's really the hard one. To get that one clean, that D minor 7 in the middle of the chord progression is tricky for me. I'll try it. That comes across a little cleaner on my concert. It's okay. Definitely would I travel with this? Absolutely. Is the playability awful? No. But the thing that I really massively notice is that I really have to look at the front of the fretboard here more than usual because there are no side position markers. And again, I really wish that it had those side position markers. The concert doesn't have them either, but considering that this is sort of Enya Nova 2.0, I had kind of hoped that that would have made it into the feature set on this ukulele. Now, in terms of sound quality, I think it's good. I mean, you've heard the sound clip at the beginning of the video. Whatever you're going to play, finger-picked or whatever, it has nice clarity. It's bright. It does lack some of the depth of the concert, which you would expect because you have more of a body to resonate with. And the concert has a side sound port that kind of shoots out back into your ear a little bit. So the sound isn't as good as the concert, but when I compare it to pretty much any other plastic ukulele out there, I like the sound better. So, and I'm saying plastic soprano ukulele. So compared to Waterman, I would choose this one. Instead of a Bugs Gear, I would choose this one. When you get to the outdoor ukulele soprano, if it comes to pure sound, I would choose this one. I do think that the outdoor soprano has a slightly better playing experience because of the neck on that instrument. Now, this neck, there's nothing wrong with it. It's nice and narrow, but there's something really nice about the outdoor ukulele soprano neck. You'd have to try one to know what I'm talking about. So that's the only difference. But again, the outdoor ukulele soprano, I think, is $110. Whereas these are $60, and that is the neck of the outdoor soprano that much better that it's worth the extra money for that, even though the sound I think is better on the Enya Nova. I don't know. That's something that you'll have to make up your mind about. And I do know there are some people that like the sound of the outdoors better than the Enya Nova. That's up to you. Now, as for me, I do like ukuleles with a bright, ringy sound. That does appeal to me. So by nature, I am really attracted to instruments with this sort of bright sound. Doesn't mean that I dislike the outdoors either. I still have them. They're not going anywhere out of my collection. I travel with them frequently. But things like this are making the trip with me much more frequently when I need sort of a durable ukulele. So overall, I think the sound is really good. I think it's really good. And the volume is decent. It's not as loud as the concert. And the tone is bright with a little bit of sustain. It's not massive. It dies off quicker than the concert, but again, all to be expected. Now, one of the things I like to do is to let you see what I'm hearing by playing the ukulele into the app Tonal Energy Tuner. What it does is it shows you what's happening with the sound spectrum first as I play the chord, and then what's happening with the sustain. So here is the Enya Nova U Mini. So what you can see there is when you strum it, of course, the whole sound spectrum lights up. With the sustain, it's really sustained in a lot of frequencies, but then again, that sustain dies down pretty quickly. So some sustain, I think a nice overall sound with some bright qualities to it. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective issues, let's talk about the objective issues of the instrument. It is a soprano scale instrument, and its scale length is 13.75 inches. I think earlier in the video I said it was 13.5. It's 13.75 inches. It has 17 frets with a little more than 13 to the body. The 13th fret happens and then the body. So that's kind of where the neck meets the body. There are no side marker position dots. Thankfully, they are on the front. And it's a double bout styled thin line ukulele with a cutaway. The soundboard, back and sides, fretboard, bridge, saddle, nut are all made out of a mix of polycarbonate, I think 70%, and carbon fiber, 30%. The bridge, just like the concert version, is compensated, so you have a little bit of extra vibrating room for the C and E strings there. It does have a slightly radiused fretboard. You can actually see it as you look down the instrument, and this may currently be the cheapest entry into an ukulele with a radius fretboard. It is a flat finish that will show some fingerprints the more you use it, but it's easy enough to keep clean. A side note with the finish is that it can scratch. Again, I've tested and rebuilt an Enya ukulele. You can check out Frank and Enya elsewhere on this channel, but I was sent a first version of the concert scale to see what it would do if it dropped in a school setting, and I dropped it and dropped it and dropped it until it completely broke, and then I used both super glue or CA glue and JB Weld to put it back together. But it is scarred, and yours could potentially scar too, so one sharp rock could leave a really jagged edge in the paint, so you will want to treat that finish with a little bit of care. It doesn't have to be super cared for, but you want to treat it with a little bit of care. Its overall length is 21.625 inches from tip to tail, that very sort of little angled top there, and it weighs 15 ounces. In your hands, it feels like it weighs more than that, but on the scale, it's 15 ounces. It has Enya's gold tuners. That's something that they've had on most of the Novas so far. The action at the first fret was dead on at 0.5 millimeters, 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret was even lower than the concert at 2.25 millimeters. So incredibly low action, which also adds to good playability. The nut width is only 34.64 millimeters, so under 35 millimeters, but the spacing between the strings at the first fret is 9.08 millimeters between each string, going 29.60 millimeters G to A at that first fret as well. That is really spacious for a soprano. So if you're a person that has felt like when you're playing a 35 millimeter nut on a soprano and it's really tight, well, you might want to give the Enya Nova U Mini a try there if you like the soprano scale. Now, I also checked the depth of the instrument at the third fret. So I go from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, and it's 21.16 millimeters, which is pretty standard. I do like the profile. It does swoop down more gradually than a pure C shape, so it is pretty comfortable to hold. I did mention earlier in the video that if you're looking soprano in sort of a similar sort of marketplace, I do like the outdoor ukulele's neck better, but I'm not complaining about that at the same time. This is more than playable and comfortable, and because it's not gloss, it has really a good feel, and I think really is nice to play just like the concert version of this instrument. Well, now we've talked about the subjective issues, we've talked about the objective issues. Let's bring it back for a summary and a UkeGuide rating. So, in summary, This is Enya's latest addition to the Nova line. It's their Nova U Mini. There is also the concert. There is a concert with their Acoustic Plus internal speaker system. I've done reviews of both of those. And coming soon, either late 2020 or early 2021, is going to be an Enya Nova that is a tenor. Now, as a warning, the Enya Nova tenor is going to be a little different. It's for sure, I think, going to have metal frets, I've been told. So that's something else to look forward to for those of you that are tenor players. A lot of people have been saying that the original concert feels more like a tenor than the concert. Well, just wait until Enya introduces the tenor version of this. You might be kind of surprised by what you're going to see. And it should play and sound great. We'll find out down the road when that is released. So it's a nice little addition to the Nova U family. It is even more portable than the concert version. I don't think it's as good overall as the concert version. I think the concert sound is better, and I like the side sound port. They weren't able to do that on these, nor were they able to add strap buttons. I asked about those, and they just said when they were testing it, it just resulted in stress problems on the instrument. And I can actually test for that. When I had the Franken Enya and I dropped it in the music room where I teach, when Franken Enya hit on the bottom where the strap button was, that's where the break occurred that caused the instrument to have basically finally its critical failure. It wasn't landing on its side, it wasn't landing on its back, it wasn't landing on its front, it wasn't landing on the neck. It was when it landed on the strap button. Now, in the concert scale, it's got some reinforcement in there, so unless you intentionally drop it onto a concrete floor just loosely covered with some carpet, which is my music room, generally that's probably not going to cause a problem to you, although I did warn people in the first review, don't drop it on the strap button. That's the weak point. Well, they weren't able to, while they had this first run, to build this to the point that they could put that strap button in there. I've been told that Enya will add the strap buttons in their next run of these, and those might be available as late 2020, but certainly early 2021. But I would not buy one of these for the sake of the strap button. In fact, I would recommend, perhaps, that you consider maybe even outdoor ukuleles got a adhesive strap button with really strong 3M adhesive that you might want to try as a solution, and they're black. I think they would fit really well in here. So I might buy a set of those and try them. Just not sure where I would put the other strap button. I'm going to have to take a look at my concert and see where that is and see how that would work with this instrument. Now, even though I'm telling you that I think the concert is a better sounding instrument, and I think that the concert for me is just a little bit easier to play, even though the string spacing is much smaller. I don't know why. I think, again, it's just pure fret space in this case that's causing me the issues of where my fingers line up in size large men hands. But it's still absolutely playable. It still has a very pleasing sound. And as sopranos go, I think it really is the best sounding all plastic ukulele that's available on the market today. And again, if you like the sound of an outdoor ukulele, I am not going to argue with you. I like my outdoor ukuleles too. But for me, I think this really is. And I think that this actually almost harkens back better to the history of the Macaferry. And if you don't know what Macaferry is, Macaferry was a creator that got into polystyrene and started selling plastic injected molded ukuleles in the 1950s and 60s, a lot through the help of the Arthur Godfrey show at the time. Arthur Godfrey was the largest name in television and radio at the time for a short period of time, and he worked together with Macaferry, and they sold a lot of ukuleles. I think it was 6 million by the time that they were done selling ukuleles. Those Macaferries, if you get a hold of one today, they sound really good. The polystyrene was really thin, and the instruments sounded really cool, but so many of them were damaged or melted or whatever. I think this is really the first plastic ukulele in the light, truly, of the Macaferry. The Calla Waterman or the Learn to Play or the Ukadelic, some of them that have that all plastic creation, were built in honor of the Macaferry, but they missed the boat, especially with action. And the outdoor ukulele is a little different instrument also. The outdoor ukulele is not quite this. It's a little more rugged. You don't have to care about it quite as much because, again, you do have to worry about the paint finish. So, with that all said, I really do think that this harkens back to sort of the Macaferry. And although it's not as cheap as the Macaferries were at the time, comparatively to other plastic ukuleles and good plastic ukuleles, this is quite the bargain. So if you're interested in a soprano, absolutely recommended to you. There's nothing here that's worth shying away from. If you really desperately need strap buttons, I don't know if I would drill into that, knowing that Enya chose not to put them in there for that reason. But certainly check out those outdoor ukulele adhesive strap buttons. Might be a solution for you with this instrument. I think you know that I like it, and I think that you know that already that I like the concert just a touch more. I feel like it's a touch more playable and I like the sound better. But both of those are a touch better. So I gave the concert version this 5 out of 5 ukuleles. There's a few ukuleles there on the list. If you want to check out UkeGuide.info, you can see which ukuleles I've ranked with 5 ukuleles down all the way to 0. This one is just a little bit under its bigger brother, but it's really, really good. So this is a 4.5 out of 5. What would make it perfect? I don't know. If you add the strap buttons, would that make it perfect for me? No, because it still doesn't sound quite as good as its bigger brother. And I'm going to let that sound be the main factor in this decision. And again, the playability for me is that much better. But somebody with smaller hands might like this one a little bit more. Certainly can't complain about that. And if Enya goes and ever makes the concert with this spacing, who knows how incredible that could be. It's already so easy to play, but what would it be like with string spacing like this? I don't know. So that is my rating for this one. Remember, with these ratings, they're completely subjective. They're my opinion. It's a really, really nice little ukulele for not a whole lot of money. And I think it could bring you a lifetime, truly, of enjoyment with it. It's great to play, great setup, really nice sound, a lot of thought put into the improvements that they did with the instrument, and just always nice to see that Enya just keeps, bringing out neat stuff that's really well made. All right, that's about it. That's all I'm going to say, and that was a lot to say on the Enya Nova U Mini Ukulele. I hope you're having a great day, and I will be back soon with some more uke stuff for you.